Good afternoon. This is Dr. Bill White again with the American Orthodontic Society, and I want to talk to you a little bit this afternoon about some plastic brackets that we got when this first came out, and this was 1980 when I bought these plastic brackets. They were very reasonable. There's no big deal, and I used them and kind of took the place of these plastic shells. We needed to use some brackets and cover up the braces on young people's teeth. So I'll show you how we do that, and I'll get into that right here. The pictures I have of these brackets are not very good, really. This is the bonding material that they sent with this little kit, and this is the kit, and these are different brackets that you use, and we use them primarily on the 6 anterior teeth. You could go back to the bicuspids if you wanted to, but we use metal brackets from the bicuspids and molars, and then on the bottom I'm going to show you how you cover up the old orthodontic deal on the bottom, where you just hardly see that at all. Here's a worse picture. It just tells you about some of the stuff. The company that we bought the brackets from, this was about 39 years ago, and I'm sure that they're not selling or they're not making these anymore. There are some of the brackets, and here's a blown up of the shape and everything of the brackets. Okay, here is the young lady that we use this on to start with, and I'll show you. Now, this is a fairly simple, regular orthodontic case. It's one you could use other things to straighten this out. Right, nice looking lady with a very good facial structure. I mean, this distance is almost the same, and the facial structure's lined up real good. So you've got a lot of things you can do without messing the face up in a case like this. Now here we'll look at what happened to this, and we've been talking about this in several of the videos. Function causes the majority, I feel like the majority of the orthodontic cases are brought about by function from infancy on up in there. And then the other big reason is sizing. You'll have a person with a big round face and marry somebody with a thin facial structure, and the child may get the big tooth and the small facial bone structure to accommodate it. That's the other reason. But breathing is one of the main things. If you breathe through the mouth, you're going to breathe on top of the tongue. There's no way that your tongue would be in the right position when you're breathing through the mouth. It's impossible to do that. So somebody that's really a chronic mouth breather will keep their tongue in the lower arch all the time. Now, it doesn't expand as much up in here as it does back on the sides right in here. Now, look at the cusp. They're cusp to cusp meeting here, like your upper teeth would be coming down, something like that, and the lower teeth would be right underneath, and the cusp are hitting right straight on right here. And that's not the way that you want the cusps to meet. In other words, you want the upper teeth to be here and the lower tooth to come up and fit into this spot right here. And the buccal cusp of the lower goes up in the groove. It may come in from different angles out here, so your tooth here keeps you from biting the cheek. And I know about this because I'm a mouth breather, and my teeth are end to end, and I bite my cheeks, and I've worn the teeth down flat, and it gets worse as you get old. So I won't have to come in and bevel these molars and bicuspids a little bit to kind of control it. So this person was breathing wrong. As they were growing up and everything, they're breathing wrong, and that set this thing in place. Now we'll look at the upper arch. It's not, we'll go ahead on the other side. Now these models were taken in 1980, and we probably didn't start the case. That was 9 of 80 till about 10 or 11, and so we didn't have much time in 80. I think we got through with it somewhere in 83. We'll show you that. But you can see the maxilla is not wide enough here, and it wasn't on the other side. It's crowded up out here. This is crowded up. The tongue probably was a tongue thruster and went up above this, you see, to go through there, and it widened the arch back in the bicuspid and molar area, but not in the other areas, the anterior part of the bracket. Okay, look at the other side. It's the same thing. The maxilla is kind of tilted in, with the up buccal cusp of the lower coming on the outside, looks like, of these molars. It didn't widen it up here, but it did back in this area back here. So we'll end up having to reshape the whole arch system here. When you look at the upper arch, you can just see there's no way this was formed by the tongue, or it would be out like this. And you can just take a set of models somebody's teeth and tell so much about what they've done and how they did them. The teeth go where they're pushed, and the person doesn't inherit this unless they inherited the same problem, or their parents had the same problem they do about the breathing. But this is something that's brought about by the function of that particular person. And down on the bottom, it's widened out in here, but not in this area. So the tongue line in here, they may have poked it out here with a tongue thrust, but they're keeping the tongue in this position most of the time, and it's spread this out back here, but it didn't come up in the front part of the mouth to spread that out. So we're going to have to correct those things. Now, this is, we jump from there all the way up to 1983, where we've got it virtually finished. And I want to show you some of the things that we did to finish this out. Now, these brackets were 022 brackets, and they have no torque and no tip and all this in them. We lined them up and got them up here good, and we put them on the center, so they rotated the teeth okay, and we expanded the arch, and it brought these teeth forward. And as you bring them forward, we got torque into them. The tooth tilts out at the tooth, and the root stays up there, and it makes more torque, a positive torque in the tooth as you expand it with the arch wire. Just push forward with the arch wire. And we line that up. We've got a rectangular arch wire in here. We put buccal root torque back in this area right here. So as you expanded this arch, we're bringing the roots out by the buccal root torque in this arch. So the buccal would be that way, and you'd have to prise it up, and it'd be pulling down on this bracket, and it'll tend to make the root go in that direction. In case you don't realize what the buccal root torque, back here behind the cuspid, we would make the arch wire, it's a rectangular wire, it would be headed down this way. So to get it into a slot, you had to come up like this, and it's pushing down on the bracket. It's twisting the bracket like this. And as that does, that brings the roots out. And I'll show you the crowns when we look down on it. And we did that on have the buccal root torque. Now to hide these teeth, we come from the molar and just go down with the arch wire and come up like that when we put the brackets on there. And all we have to do is make the wire follow that path, and we're going to keep the incisal edge of these teeth up here. So if you don't show much of these teeth, and most women don't, you can actually not even see that they've got lower anterior braces on. See, so we straighten the lower with metal and do a good job and everything, and you won't even see the braces in there. Now, looking at it from the side where you can see this coming downhill from the molar. Now I think we lower the brackets on the molar teeth about 3/4 of a millimeter, but we did not have them lowered in this particular case.
In 82, and we started it in the latter part of 1980, and so we're way on down the road. We're just about to finish the case, so I can show you, like we put buccal root torque in these teeth back here, and maybe a wee bit in the cuspid, but not much, because it didn't do anything because of the type of bracket that's on there. But you see how these teeth are kind of leaned out this way. In other words, the roots have been brought out, the molars brought out too, and that increases the airway like it should have been if the person had functioned correctly to start with. But this was a functional problem that came up when this young lady was just an infant, and I don't know how early and how much she stayed in that mouth breathing situation, but it was long enough for the maxilla not to expand properly, and the mandible expanded back in the bicuspid and molar area, but not much up here. So we came back and redid this and fixed it up what we think was like it originally was, and this will be more durable if we get at the cause of it. Let me go back here and erase that, and we'll continue on here. Now, you look at the front part of it now, these little brackets lined up pretty good, and we've got torque in these anterior teeth up here, and they look quite nice. So I'm just going to pretty much leave it like it is. We got it to that point, so we'll just leave that. Let me go on here. This is a close-up of the brackets, and these put this clear elastics around these to hold them in there, and we've got them in the center of the tooth pretty good, and it's centered out, and so they rotated all right. So you can use some kind of economical little bracket like that to expand, and you'll get torque when you do that. In other words, they lean out. That's positive torque. And down here we put the brackets low, and this young lady, when she talks, you may see a little bit of the the lower anterior teeth, but you won't see much. You won't even know she's got braces on down here, unless she was to pull her lips down so you could see that. And you can do that and just hide the material on the lower arch and do what needs to be, and just use the brackets on the bicuspids and molars and put these little plastic things on the front teeth to do that. All right, let's go on here and look at the upper arch now. You remember how it was. I'm going to show you some pictures of the other right beside it. excuse me, but you can tell what is actually taking place there. The lower looks good, and it's expanded out here in this area, and we didn't have to move these very much because they were already out, but we did down in this part of the mouth. And here it's not January of '83, and we're finished with it virtually. We're doing a little bit on the bottom, so I left the braces down there, and we'll take this out and build a retainer and everything for the upper. Nothing going under the on the occlusion side of the tooth at all. Whoops. That's the wrong button there. Okay. Now, this is lined up. It's class 1. And just a little bit I'll have this. This is a curve in here that flatten this out more. Flatten that wire kind of. You've got a loop in that kind of goes out and comes around like that. And we probably went down, you raise this up, and it helps flatten this thing out. This tooth will come back to its normal position when you ease up on that force on it right there. Okay, the upper, you can see how we expanded it and how much bigger it is in the lower. Alright, here is the lower model in 1980, and here it is in 1985. See, but we had it like this pretty much by 1983. So we worked on it around a couple of years, something like that. You could have probably done it quicker, but that's the way it looks in 1985. Now we'll go on to the side of it, and this is the way this was kind of class 3-ish. In other words, this is out further than it's supposed to be. This tooth should be actually right up in the front part here, so you got a little class 3-ish problem over on the right side of the mouth, and there it is in class 1 now in 93. So now the other side of the mouth is just a slight class 2. In other words, we need to bring this more out to something like this, and the teeth, everything else looks good. So we corrected all of this crowding in the front part of the mouth. Now there it is after we've finished it down there. And then she'll wear a retainer because we have all of them wear retainers. Start with for as long as necessary. If you don't get it to full problem, you got to wear a retainer for years. All right, this is lined up good there, and that's 1985. Out there is the maxillary looking down on it from the occlusion, and once this is been widened out, and then this is straightened out across here, and it shortens a little bit. And there it is. And then we go back. I'll skip too much there. That's how narrow it was, and there's how it is now. again, the lower arch. That's the way. You see how crowded the lower arch was right in here. And now we're going to look at it the way it is. And this is straightened out. Sorry, not the head. And this was just some of the bracket material. Excuse me, and here is the young lady. Now, this I wanted to show you. You can get these plastic brackets that are made now that are, you don't have to use the expensive ones, but you can just use regular plastic brackets to do that. And you're able to cover up everything. The lower arch you can actually hide pretty much on most any lady that won't show them. If they do, it's very little. And then you can put the metal brackets on the bicuspids and molars and just put the plastic or ceramic or whatever you want to. If you want to go with the expensive ones, you can do that. But you can get a relatively reasonable bracket and put it on and do what we did in this case. And I thank you for watching it, and I hope that you'll be able to use this in your work. So I'm going to say goodbye, and thanks for looking at it, and I hope you will join our group and sign up with them. With us. We need all the people signed up on this that we can get. And we'll be speaking, if any of you are around Dallas area, on March the 23rd. I'll be speaking at the Crown Plaza in Addison. That's in the edge of Dallas, kind of North Dallas. On March the 23rd, which will be a Saturday, and we're speaking all day there. I have another gentleman that's got some real interesting work that's going to kind of help me. So if you can, come to it. So thank you very much now.